Imagine you need to cross a river. You could simply place a wooden log across the water. And that's how one of the earliest forms of bridges may have begun, a simple log bridge. But in real life, finding a tree long enough to cross a wide river isn't easy. So people came up with a clever solution. They cut the ends of two different logs and created a special connection. One end was shaped into a projecting piece, while the other was carved with a matching slot. When the two pieces were fitted together, they locked tightly. They couldn't easily separate vertically, but they could still slide apart sideways. So the builders drilled a hole through the joint and inserted a wooden pin. Now the two logs were locked in place from every direction. This clever technique, known as a scorpion tail joint, allowed multiple pieces of wood to be connected together, creating structures much longer than a single tree trunk. But there was still a problem. Walking across a single log was dangerous. One wrong step could make you lose your balance and fall into the river. So several logs were placed side by side and tightly tied together with ropes, creating a wider walkway. But the round logs made the surface uneven. To make it easier and safer to walk on, flat wooden boards were placed on top. Now they had a simple wooden plank bridge. However, when too many people stepped onto it at once, the bridge could bend or even collapse. So the builders needed more support. They added pillars underneath the bridge. At first, wooden pillars were used, but strong river currents could easily damage or wash them away. So they replaced them with stone pillars. The ends of these stone pillars were shaped with smooth, rounded surfaces to reduce the force of the flowing water. And these pillars had another major advantage. The builders no longer needed extremely long logs. Shorter pieces of wood could simply rest on top of the stone supports, instead of relying on ropes. The wood was secured using a strong mortise and tenon joint. Then they added a flat walking surface and wooden railings along both sides for safety. Finally, the wood was coated with tung oil to help protect it from water and decay. But even that wasn't enough. After years of exposure to sunlight and rain, the wood would still deteriorate. So the builders came up with another brilliant idea. They built a long covered corridor over the bridge. The roof protected the wooden structure from the weather and greatly increased its lifespan. This created an early form of the covered bridge. But there was a new problem. These bridges needed many pillars, and that could block boats from passing underneath. So the builders replaced many small pillars with just a few large and extremely strong ones to hold the stone blocks together. They used a special mixture made from sticky rice, tung oil, and lime. This became known as sticky rice mortar, and it created an incredibly strong bond between the stones. The builders also added wedge-shaped structures to the ends of the pillars. These acted like water breakers, splitting the current and reducing the force of the water. Then came one of the most impressive parts of the design. On top of the pillars, wooden supports were extended outward layer by layer, creating a cantilever structure. This clever design helped bridge the gaps between the pillars, made it easier to build the upper walkway, and raised the bridge high enough for larger boats to pass underneath. It also increased the bridge's ability to carry weight. But the builders still wanted the bridge to be extremely stable, so they constructed large traditional Chinese pavilions on top of the structure. Their weight helped stabilize the bridge, while also creating sheltered places where travelers could sit, rest, enjoy the scenery, or drink tea. And after generations of clever improvements, the simple log bridge had evolved into something extraordinary. The famous wind and rain bridge, or Fenjuqiao. These bridges are a remarkable example of traditional architecture associated with the Dong people of southern China. What began as a simple log placed across a river eventually became an ingenious combination of wood, stone, engineering, and architecture.